listening deeply, seeing boys for who they really are.
When I say I kinda get it, the teacher understands I really mean that it would be helpful to go over it again.
You know, what I've had success with is just, having the chance to be able to get to know the kids, seeing what's important to them, realizing all kids come from different avenues of life. Not all boys can be treated the same. Some individuals are going to react well to, this is what it is, with boundary lines, and others just need to kind of tend to back away when you have too many rules to them. So, again, it's really a personal approach, and getting to know them and who they are, and where they've come from.
It's that taking that 5 minutes here and there to really listen to them and to develop a relationship with them, to know. If Todd is Todd and Jeremy is Jeremy, not just a boy in my second period class. I've really learned over, especially the last 2 years, that it goes a long way. It really goes a long way, because it gives them that sense that, hey, this guy really does care about me if he's asking me and really listening to me, or he remembers that I said something. It really carries a lot of weight. It builds a lot of trust and confidence.
And listen, and maybe that's the most important thing. Listen to what they have to say, because they're sending messages all the time. Sometimes those messages are, I'm feeling left out, I'm feeling not comfortable, or it could be that, I'm really into this, I'm enjoying it, I like what you're doing, and let's do more of it. So I think it's listening, engaging in activities, being there for them, and also don't be afraid to be emotional with them. Just don't be afraid. I think boys need to learn, if not learn, to be encouraged to be open, to share their feelings, and not be ashamed of doing that.
The teachers we interviewed shared numerous strategies and techniques they used to connect with boys in their classrooms and build genuine and authentic relationships. We focus here on 4 of these strategies, which appeared consistently across our interviews. Once again, we offer several illustrative examples for each strategy. Being interested in what boys are interested in.
He understands me a lot and tries to tell me I shouldn't be just a shadow of my brother. He tells me I can be great on my own.
The relationship is not like a generalized, okay, these are my boys in period 2. These are my boys in period. It's taking that extra 5 or 10 minutes here and there at various parts of the day or the week, and really listening and getting to know each individual kid, especially with the boys. When you hear their interests or what they're doing, you pull that into what you're doing in class, and then you've got them hooked. As soon as you bring something they're interested into, you've got them hooked. And it doesn't matter what you're talking about the rest of the year. They're always waiting for that, well, how's he going to tie it to my whatever?
So, taking interest in what they're doing, what they've been involved in, what they've seen, and be able to, give them the opportunity to kind of tell me and to tell others as well what interests them and what makes them, feel good about themselves as well.
Well, I think it's with any student, is you need to get to know them and be interested in what they're interested in. You need to be able to not necessarily talk on their level, but be able to say, oh yeah, I saw that show and that I thought that was cool because, I like this sport, and be able to talk about it. I think it's important to be able to relate to them culturally on their level in some way. I think that's really important.
Sitting down to talk.
Good teachers, they actually talk to you.
Sit down and talk to them. There are students, if you sit down one-on-one with a student and just say, you got to let them know that you're open to working with them.
Just showing that you care, making a connection with them as far as, how was your day, what did you do over vacation, just talking to them as people, instead of, here's your paper, do your homework, here's the lesson. you know, there's some teachers that can be very detached and don't make any attempt to get to know the kids. That's the best part of teaching.
Reaching out to boys when something's not right.
If I'm acting out, she always asks me what's going on.
As far as boys are concerned, humor and connecting with them in a way, in ways that maybe they're not necessarily used to. Sure, a lot of men joke around with young men in this environment. Coaches do that with their teams and so forth. I think we need to do it as teachers with boys as well. At the same time, though, be open to them when it is the case that you sense, you read that something's going on, and not be afraid to pull them aside. And I'm not at all afraid to pull a young man aside and say, I'm getting vibrations that today's not a good day. Something's bothering you. Talk to me about it.
He'd just come to class and I'd say, well, you're having a bad day, aren't you? He said, yes. And I said, okay, because he's in the behavior program too. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, you can just go downstairs and, you know, I'll send your work down later. Yeah. And I think there's other teachers that really battled with him and made him stay in class and made him do the work. And then he would just, you know, fight against them and refuse to do it, and it would cause a big scene. And so I think you really have to take into account where some of these kids are coming from. And at the end of the year, I think it was 6th grade, I gave him an award for the nicest smile. And he was so happy. And now he still sees me in the hall. Hi, how you doing? He'll say. And he's a great kid. But he's one that I didn't grade him on every single assignment I gave because he'd fail. And I graded him on the work that he did do, and I made a lot of exceptions for him. So I think a lot of teachers have to realize that not all kids come from the same place, and they do have to make exceptions for these kids.
Showing positive support and encouragement.
I could tell him anything I wanted. He would just be like, okay, we can work this out.
So much like building a house, I think a classroom is very similar. You have to be willing to put a lot of time in at the beginning, building your foundation, and in this case, it's really building a community, getting the kids to feel like this is a place where they are cared for, where they're respected, and I demand that they respect adults and respect me back, but I will give them respect at all times. And we're a place where they can take risks, and it's okay to make a mistake. And we do that through, you know, we have morning meeting where we do a lot of sharing and a lot of games that build community. And as many activities where we can work together in small groups or in team atmosphere so that they know that somebody has their back whenever possible. That's really important. And I think that it's time well spent. It takes a little bit of time away from the academics at the beginning, but I think in the long run, it makes a huge difference.
One of the things that I think I used to do would be to take aside a young man and say, I really respect your mind. I think you have tremendous ability. I don't think you're using it. I don't think you're taking the intellectual challenge. I don't think you're working nearly as hard as you can or should. And I'd like to challenge you to do that. And I'd almost try and strike a bargain. I would say, as a teacher, I will try and make my classroom and this subject as interesting as I can. I'll use your interests to the degree I can. But I want to know that you're meeting me halfway, that you're going to challenge yourself, and that I truly believe that this will give you a more exciting and more interesting life.
On behalf of the Maine Boys Network, we hope this presentation on the importance of building strong teacher-student relationships as a key way to support boys' academic achievement and success has been useful to you. We encourage you to discuss this issue further with your colleagues. To that end, we offer the following questions to prompt reflection and dialogue.